Hi everyone.
Hello. Hello everyone. So this week I had an interesting experience because I found myself in a situation where we're almost at the end of January and we still have not disposed of the Christmas tree, or I have not disposed of the Christmas tree. And typically in our community, there is a green bin that's put on one of the back streets that Housing Association kindly puts out every year so that people can get rid of their Christmas trees. But because I hurt my back doing Bikram yoga, doing the owl pose that I made up, which is probably why I hurt my back in the first place, this imaginary owl pose that you're not supposed to get into really paid to my back. I was laid low for a few days and missed the green bin altogether. It got taken away and unfortunately I was unable to dispose of the tree. So that tree has been sitting in our yard for the last 2 or 3 weeks and staring at me and me feeling guilty that I didn't remove it and not knowing what to do with it. And I had all these thoughts about, well, I'm gonna have to maybe, I don't know, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna have to go and rent an electric saw from Home Depot or rent a van to remove it? Or what, I don't know what I was gonna do. But then I had this brainwave on Monday morning and I was going through some of my tools and then I found this old electrical saw, which I don't know why I hadn't thrown it away because it's pretty hopeless. The battery, you put it in and you can't really get much more than about 30 seconds of saw out of it for the battery.
Only you would keep a saw that works for 30 seconds.
Well, good job I did, because let me tell you. So then I thought, well, I'll just see what 30 seconds of saw can do to this tree trunk. And lo and behold, although it is quite a sizable tree, what was it? It was about 8.5 feet, something like that. And the trunk was pretty thick. I managed to get through half of it in 30 seconds. But the method to my madness was that I thought, well, why don't I just do that, go about my business for an hour, go do some coaching or do a session or whatever, and then come back after an hour, get the charged battery or whatever, however much charge it would get in an hour, and then go for it again. And then, lo and behold, the next time out, I managed to saw through the trunk completely. And then by the end of the day, operating on this level, I had cut the tree into 4 different pieces. And I didn't have to worry about renting a saw or anything. It's like it was all taken care of without really having any impact on my day whatsoever. It was all very smooth and very easy, and the tree found its way into our own bin. But the moral to this story is that I can now see how, in deference to the idea of taking 3-foot sauces or baby steps, that I can now probably think along the lines about projects that I've had on the back burner for years in some cases, that I've had an inclination to do but haven't followed through because it kind of feels overwhelming. But in a sense, I can do, I can make these small gestures or take these small steps. As long as I'm moving in that direction, you can actually get a lot done. Doing things in smaller ways. And I was actually also going to say how with the tree, there's been a stump at the bottom of the garden. Has been sitting there for about a year, and I have not known what to do about it. You've been saying we should hire someone in to come and do it. There's these stump removal services, but I'd already dug out the roots a little bit, so the roots were kind of exposed.
I think the dog helped you dig it out.
The dog really helped. If it wasn't for the dog, I wouldn't have probably even attempted this. But so I went and did the same thing with a stump, and literally by the end of the day, the stump was gone as well.
It's like magic.
It's magic. So that was really, for me, it was a real eye-opener. It's like, I can apply this to my professional life and actually look at those someday maybe projects that felt overwhelming and apply the same principle.
Yeah, so true. Because really, when we're in overwhelm, we're not taking action, we don't want to do it, that's just really a state of mind that we're in that has us get frozen, get anxious, get freaked out. But if we're not going to pay attention to that and go like, what is the action that I can take then all of a sudden you get into action and that just goes into the background.
Yeah, and taking the action builds its own momentum. There's all sorts of things that I could have done with my career, maybe now as a coach and my career as a photographer, where I would have probably got into some kind of negative future fantasy about, yeah, that feels too overwhelming to do now. I've got too much going on. My this is so busy. I can't even contemplate doing that. And then you kind of like, you miss the enthusiasm that you had initially having that first idea. And now I can see it's like, just act on it in some small way. And I think, that it will bear fruit. I think that was borne out by my experience with the tree this week. So I have a fresh new zest for contemplating or taking action on projects that looked overwhelming. And as you say, I could see how that's just all thought, all stuff that I've made up. And really there was a thread, there was something coming through, there was a spark of wisdom that was prompting me to do something. And really, it's kind of crazy that I would just choose to ignore it based on knowing what I know now, knowing that it's just thought, that it's just, that's how I get into the negative future fantasy. That's how I get into the narrative of overwhelm.
And I love that you got that inspiration about this saw that only works for 30 seconds. So you're like, how's this going to do anything? So without even really knowing, you just followed that inclination and tried it out. And then the next action kind of showed up for itself. Like, oh, I got halfway through. I can do more. So often we get an inspiration, but we want to see how it gets us to the end point, and we can't see it. So we're like, oh, well, don't do that. But when we just follow with that next step, the next step shows itself up through taking that action.
Yes, the next step appears.
That's right.
Like I had the Christmas tree, and then all of a sudden the stump was gone.
Right.
I want to go around and saw everything now. What else can I saw?
It's going to be great use of your time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend.